Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain
I'm
Foley.
Connor Collins.
Today we're talking about a magnificent monster, and it's maroon.
And shinier than it used to be. This was probably the big surprise of episode 10 of Stranger Worlds. Fair to say, Stuart?
One of them, yeah. One of the biggest ones and earliest in the
Mm-hmm.
episode.
I was like, oh. So what happens, Stuart? Give us the rundown, and I'll take us into the first picture.
We saw a monster maroon in Strange New Worlds. An older Pike who had, managed to deke his fate and actually survived, went back and talked to the younger Pike. And as a result, he's wearing a monster maroon uniform, or a magnificent maroon, whatever you want to call it. But it's a Strange New Worlds version, so it's a little bit different. We're going to talk about that today.
And it just occurred to me, he kind of endgamed.
Yeah.
Because future him in a future uniform came back, sort of, to change the past to create alternate timeline. Because oddly, Stranger Worlds presented us with the idea that in the original Prime timeline, Pike did fix his fate. There was now a Romulan War, a second one, and then bad things happened. And so he had to go back and change it to create our Prime timeline. So Discovery did that already with Control. Now they've done that with Pike as well. Boy, everyone changes time, eh?
Yep.
So, this is going to be a very interesting breakdown, Stuart. I've done each of the details as well as the generalities. So, first picture is, of course, the first introduction in The Wrath of Khan compared to the muted jumpsuit, bulge visible uniforms of the motion picture. These were a radical departure. Heavy fabrics, multi-layered, adorned with accoutrements based on military. It's the most expensive and hard to acquire uniform in Trek costuming, because each piece accurately made can be $100 by itself. Even the buckles could be like $60, just that top single buckle, because they're all custom. It is a very difficult outfit uniform to get, to have, and it takes a while to put on. But it, pretty iconic in the community, I think it's fair to say.
Yes, it's a grail for a lot of people, for sure. And probably not that comfortable to wear in certain climates or temperatures.
Yes, definitely warm. Arguably some people's favourite uniform, or a large chunk of the audience. First Contact and this become the top two. Now, so this is the original. This is the Strange New World version. I'll do a comparison in a minute. Straight away, I've enhanced them visually to try and get more detail. Instantly, I can tell you they're not the same. And I can tell that straight from the get-go, but they are more different than you think. This is not a Monster Maroon. It's a Strange New Worlds Monster Maroon. They are actually quite different.
The first things I noticed, of course, were the more vinyl or the silicone, whatever they called it, arm accoutrements, which seemed to be standard for Strange New Worlds uniforms. That's fine. It was a kind of a nice welcome touch, and if it was done, it's done very well here. I kind of like it. But I also noticed the material wasn't as thick, and the biggest thing for me is the flap that goes down farther, and as a result, the white attachment piece is longer and just looks lazy. Honestly, it doesn't look as crisp as the actual Monster Maroons. That's what I noticed. A lot of the pins and stuff seem pretty accurate. Slight little changes here and there with those, but overall, even has the years of service bar on the arm, which is nice. Kudos to them. It was a nice little surprise.
I mean, this is the first time we've seen even any version of this in live action for a very long time. It is more different than it should be, but because it's from an alternate reality based on this visual reboot timeline, it can do its own thing. I mean, it's great to see. I think the more silvery vinyl shoulders make it look kind of wet and plasticky. I mean, just the reflection just makes it feel really cheap to me in comparison. Kind of gives it a fan film vibe. Like, they couldn't get the right fabric, so they cheaped out and did it. Like, it just looks... I mean, okay, the Monster Maroon is the definitive for a reason. This is, I don't think you can argue, a worse version of that, but it's also a different version. One of the important things to note, though, is that he's actually an admiral in this, based on the rank pips, and yet they've missed the rank braid, so I'm guessing they didn't realise there should be a gold separate braid, so I guess the customer didn't realise that was an admiral versus captain.
Yeah, like the rank pin does say Admiral, but the little clasp thing is different, and yeah, it's missing the gold stripe along the black, which subtle, but
Yes, and the clasp is actually different. It's weirdly different, but it is different. Although, oddly, of all the things that they didn't change, to me, the com badge looks the same.
yeah, I know.
Which, of all the things to change, would be that they could just do whatever the hell they want with that. That and the pins look faithful, but they've changed the uniform itself. Very strange. Very, very strange. But the next view is a direct sort of close-ups, because that's important. And you can see the trousers have got the red line. However, they are the metallic shiny fabric versus the just clean red. So that's same but different. You can see the deltas in the Wrath of Khan in the shoulders, although given the delta's different, it's weird they would include that. That you wouldn't think that would be the same, but whatever. You can see they have got the correct back element, which in fact I didn't realize until I had one. Is actually that's a ID chip to who you are. That is dependent on what rank and division you are. So when I was asked what I want, I was given like 30 options, and they carefully worked out. So that is, it's there. Good job. The belt is now a two-tone belt, which is very subtle, but unless you find a close-up, with an outer reflective silver and more plasticky feel, inner. But they have got pretty much identical. This collar, collar around your hand and further back. So it's an interesting hybrid of the same and different, and it has to be the same, a similar belt buckle. So it's kind of like half the same, half different, yet stylistically very similar. It's very interesting how they've kind of melded the styles here.
I didn't notice was that the black stripe on the neck ends at the different fabric there.
It is what it says on the tin. It's a Strange New Worlds alternate universe redesign of this thing. Exactly what it says on the tin. Here is the side-by-side. Both admirals. So you can see how it's missing the gold. And this is where it becomes obvious what she was talking about earlier. For some reason, that black line is a hard line down. Whereas in reality, and Kirk's slight angle, we'll see in a minute, it's almost straight along. And so this is very thin. And it totally changes the vibe. I don't know why it was changed. The flap, it wouldn't look as good, first of all, to come out. But the flap is entirely differently designed. And even you can see the collar's kind of a little bit different as well. The way it all kind of...
There's more ribbing on Anson's collar. It's much more different than first glance. The first time you see it, you're like, yes, awesome. And then the more you see it, you're like, oh, okay. Oh.
But it is very much redesign the wheel. It's let's take the one thing that makes it special, the flap, and let's totally design it differently. And it does genuinely mess up this looks just really daft. Because the Wrath of Khan, it's almost exactly in the middle of the line where you put the rank. It's there as a functional part, because the captain's rank is very long. It almost fully fits that space. Now, Anson has it where it should be, and then a big bit of empty white. It's lost the function of it. It's now a white bit of material rather than a functional part to contain. It's very strange.
Yeah. It just feels lazy. It almost feels like one of the cheaper Monster Maroons that you'll see some cosplayers wearing. It's like, it just does not look right.
Yeah, for whatever reason. I'm sure the fabric is a little bit less thick anyway, because why make it as thick? But it does feel like a cheaper, fan filmy quality version. Just side by side, it just has that certain oomph. And even you can see it's thinner because the way the fabric kind of curls at the armpit.
Yeah.
That's the thinner fabric vibe. Whereas Kirk, it's got hard lines everywhere. This thing is not bending, so it's very interesting, but it is not a Monster Maroon. It's an alternate universe version, just like in Picard we saw the black version. So do not be mistaken. Think it's a genuine version, and people cannot use the argument of, well, Wrath of Khan was a cheap movie. It was cheap effects, therefore this is our visual retcon. No, you can't use that argument when these costumes are very, very expensive. Stop. You can't do that anymore. But the next view, though, is another side view because it compares aesthetically. You kind of see the Viper as well. Any different thoughts on this one?
Just that the Christmas and the fabric of Kirk's it says quality from a distance. I know you brightened up Pike's a bit, and that kind of ruins it because in the darkness it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I brightened up both. Well, I just realised you can actually see the line, the inner panel line of Pike's, which exists on the Strange World uniform. So they also included that into it, which obviously a line doesn't exist in the other one. Part of why I include this, you can see the arm full detailing is accurate. Interesting swings and roundabouts. Next view, though, compares directly the belt. So the top left is the Stranger Worlds, and the bottom left and two rights. Now, from the Kirk wide shot, it kind of looks like the belts are two-tone. It isn't. It's just a reflection of the leather. But clearly, the Stranger World, it went for a two-tone, kind of that, like I say, plasticky vibe. It makes, I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's definitely not as it was. And you can see the deltas compared to the other very clearly in the shop.
Yeah, the belts. I'd never noticed the belts, so I'm glad you got that picture. But yeah, I prefer the Kirks again. It feels like all leather, high quality.
I mean,
the other one feels like it's got some.
So I know what it looks like.
Yeah, the other one feels like it's got some vinyl, costumey stuff on it, and just doesn't quite work.
Just doesn't work as well. And also, I don't know about you, but I'm distracted for whatever reason by having the deltas go right up to the line. You get the edge of it be printed as well, which seems really odd to have a fabric texture there. Don't know why, just for me. The next view, though, is triple interesting, though. And again, left, top, and bottom is Strange New Worlds. The right three are not. You can see the buckle is actually a different buckle. It's sort of the same, but for whatever reason... Well, I know they're hard to get the originals, but you can do it. The original has a very small rectangle which clips and locks in place. The Strange New World version is, for some reason, a thin line that protrudes out, and then goes, it clicks up and comes out. So it's an entirely different buckle design, how it connects. But as you can see, the com badge is the same, give or take. I mean, I would be close enough to say it's identical, maybe when they just pulled off, the archive.
And just for clarity, we know it's not a com badge in this era.
Not into Enterprise C, yes.
Well, yeah, in Enterprise C it is, but at this point it's not. So, but yeah, that's one thing that I did look for when I was watching the episode was that insignia specifically, and it seemed very accurate to the one that even I have, which is costume accurate. So, yeah, good.
And also, in fairness, there are versions of the com badge that have a more yellow backing and a more white backing. That does alter in different lighting, and you can see Anson's is a bit overly yellow anyway, color graded compared to the Mathacon, because the Tonic should be an off-white. So obviously they've been both graded to be, so take that as the pinch of salt. But I mean, it's weird how some things are identical. It's weird what they picked and didn't pick. It's very strange.
Yeah, the placement of that Admiral's pin is just, it's like they didn't know what to do with it. It's in the right spot if the strap was shorter. It's such an odd choice, and the way the strap looks, it just looks like it was cut the wrong size, and it just doesn't feel right.
Is that leather as well? Pikes. I think that's leather. The way it's kind of creased.
Oh, it does look leather when you zoom in on it. Yes,
because if
you can see the wrinkles.
Yeah, it looks wrinkled and stretched. Whereas the original, it's just a thick cloth. Kind of has that really crispness. It doesn't sit as well.
Yeah, it does look leather. You're absolutely right. But you got to zoom in to see that, though.
Sure, but I mean, these are actually very comparable angles, and you can see Kirk's looks really crisp and sharp. Pike's looks old and worn, which in theory, yeah, he can wear this for a long time. We've no idea when he's come back from exactly. But these are subtle differences that you could not have seen while doing it, watching it live. But if you jump back to both of them on screen at the same time, it's the same. But very, very different. Kind of like the Discovery Enterprise. It's like it feels the same at distance, but every single piece is different. This is not quite as drastic. But yeah, it's not a Monster Maroon, but it's now a Monster Maroon variant. We can now see it at conventions. But just like with the Endgame uniform, it's an alternate, so it's now erased from the timeline. It does not visually reboot the old one. Of course it doesn't. Wowza.
And I'm sure a lot of cosplayers are screaming in the anguish because now they gotta make this because you're going to see this coming up now. Hopefully this video helped. That strap is leather, so yeah. So comment down below what you thought about this when you first saw it, and now after a close look at it. Do you like it less? Do you like it more? Is it a look you prefer to the original? We want to hear your thoughts, as always. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, and don't forget to click the notification bell icon so you can join us for lives, where you can put in your thoughts like that in real time, and we can discuss them with you personally, because we really like doing that. So join us for lives.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot this week, because this episode is full to the brim with things of a Trekyards nature, and of course check out our edited videos, all these topics, all these bite-sized pieces with these deep dive, you've seen the research, you've seen the work that goes into these guys, so check it out, enjoy it, support us if you want to, because we do this work, so you don't have to. Support us via Patreon monthly, join the channel on YouTube monthly, one-time donation at trekyards@hotmail.com, or super chat in the lives, or super thanks. If you enjoyed this video on the new Stranger Worlds Monster Maroon, then super thanks in the chat down below is a new button next to the like and dislike button. Any amount goes towards us. It really helps the show. Let's keep going and do more of these things for the future to come.
That's right. Alternate or otherwise. So, until next time, I am Captain Foley.
And Connor Collins. Bye, guys.
See you guys later.